We all know Walt Reid as the king of records and top 10, but there are a few things you don't know about him that I know, and I'm going to share them with you right now. Did you know that when he started his career in prehistoric times, he did all the top 10 with paper and pencil? Did you know that the Japanese used to send their top 10 in little books bound with ribbon and filled with Japanese characters? The only thing Walt could read were the times. So he would highlight the ones that qualified for top 10 and send them back requesting them in English. Did you know that early on with FINA records and top 10, he would use the foreign language teachers at the local high school to translate the submissions? He had to learn breaststroke, butterfly, and meters in many different languages. Some time ago, Walt and Kathy inherited her family's farm. So now Walt describes himself as a gentleman farmer. What that means, he sits on their deck at the farmhouse with a beer and watches the farmer as he drives by on the tractor. That's the Walt Reid I know. Let's hear a little more about our friend Walt Reid.
His love of swimming began in the mid-1950s when he swam for IMSHOF honor coach Dick Hanula at the Tacoma Swim Club. Walt Reid then went on to earn bachelor and master's degrees in forestry at the University of Washington and Yale University, and stopped swimming for 17 years. Having a desk job and needing some exercise, he discovered master swimming in 1977. Walt not only dove into the pool to swim, but became an enthusiastic volunteer with the Pacific Northwest LMSC. He volunteered on their newsletter, relay, nominations, and ad hoc computer committees. He also took a special interest in maintaining the association's top 10 times as well as their records. When he began attending USAS/USMS conventions in 1984, Walt offered to help tabulate USMS national records, and 3 years later, he became the chair of the Records and Tabulation Committee. Keeping the national records quickly evolved into Walt's development of computer programs that could track top 10 times, both nationally and at the LMSC levels. Walt's commitment to chronicling the performances of Masters swimmers globally was instrumental in making Masters a truly international endeavor. In 1992, Walt became the official FINA Masters recorder and developed the procedures, forms, and computer programs for processing Masters World Record applications and World Top 10 tabulations. Since 2003, Walt has also maintained a database of lifetime achievement that is used as the criteria for selection of Masters swimmers into the International Masters Swimming Hall of Fame. Walt has received many awards and recognitions over the years, but none more memorable than when he received the FINA Silver Pin from Cornel Marculescu, FINA Executive Director, and Mustafa Lafouy, FINA President, at the 2006 FINA World Masters Championships at Stanford. Walt Reid, Honor Masters Contributor, USA.
Wow. I'm not sure where they got all those pictures, and thank you, my wife. Okay, what an honor this is. I want to thank the Hall of Fame. Is this voice okay? And the USMS Recognition and Awards Committee, Rich Burns, for making this nomination. When I think about the contributors that come before me, names like Ted Harps, Tom Boak, Nancy Rideout, Gary Stutzel, Mel Goldstein, and Ed Evely. These contributors were the leaders, and they are the leaders in master swimming. My contribution, as you can see, was quite different. Somebody needed to keep track of all of the fast swimmers in the United States and the world, so I raised my hand. There are people I'd like to recognize that gave me the opportunity to contribute. We all probably got started at the LMSC level. I was in P&A. They needed somebody to do records and tabulations. This is in the days when the tools were pencil, paper, typewriter, and you mailed out maybe a monthly report, and that mail took a stamp compared to today. I came to convention and I met Enid Urich, which is one person I want to honor for what she did for me. She gave me the opportunity to get started with USMS. The short course meter records hadn't been done by anyone, and so I had the opportunity to be the first person to get those records started in that top 10. And that led me to Tom Boak. Tom was the president of USMS and asked if I would be the chairman of the Records and Tabulation Committee, and of course you can't refuse Tom, can you? So that got me started in writing some programs, getting some LMSCs computerized. So this is the days before there was any national office database or anything like that. So I had the database that kept track of that. We published in Swim Master. Thank you, June. And as time went on, we did get improvements in the technology. The next people I'd like to mention are Kevin Kelly and Gary Stutzel. They were in MSI, Master Swimming International, which was really the first organization that took on the responsibility of world records and world top 10. And Kevin asked if I would take on the top 10 for them. So, of course, you do that, right? The next person was Tina Martin. Remember Tina? She was on the FINA Technical Committee, Masters Technical Committee, and she came to me in 1991 at the convention and said, you know, Walt, maybe you ought to get a hold of the FINA person. Ross Wales was the honorary secretary, and offer your services to FINA. So I wrote a letter. And Ross, he lived in Cincinnati. He called me one Saturday and said, FINA would like to take you up on your offer of being a volunteer. I'll send you a plane ticket to come to the office. I thought I was going to Cincinnati, Ohio, but fortunately I was going to Switzerland, which is where the FINA office was. So I got a trip to Switzerland in 1992, and I met Cornel Marculescu, and he's the executive director of FINA and is still the executive director of FINA. So we sat down for about 3 days and worked on the process of how this was going to work. He wanted me to be like an extension of his office. He didn't have a very big office. I think he only had 4 people employed in those days. So he said, I'll get you a fax machine and a phone line. You live in Tacoma, Washington, but you're going to be an extension of our office. Everything's going to come into the FINA office. We'll fax it to you. You do the work. You fax it back, and we go back to the federations. So that was the setup. And he said, you know, I'm thinking that this should last maybe a couple years. Then I would like my staff to learn how to do this. So I'll bring you back to Switzerland. You train my staff. I'll buy your programs. This all sounded great to me. Well, 2 years. I'm now in my 27th year as the FINA Masters Recorder, so I must be doing something right. Needless to say, the fax machine is gone. It didn't last well, it lasted longer than it should. There was baling wire, trying to buy thermal paper, you know. So we got rid of that. FINA's made some great progresses for me. There's a database. I have all the tools to keep that database updated. I'm in communication with them daily. The record applications and top 10 come to me through the internet and email and attachments. And so it's worked out very well. Went to a FINA Masters Committee meeting about 5 years ago. And I gave my speech. Cornel thanked me, And he said, "Walt, how old are you?" I thought, oh my goodness, here comes the 2 years. It's going to happen. So I said, well, I was 74, something like that then. So then nothing more was said. The next year, I found out how old Cornell was. So we go back to the meeting the next year, same scenario. Walt, how old are you? I said, I'm a year younger than you are, Cornell. And he hasn't mentioned it since. So maybe I've got a couple more years with those people. I hope so. I want to especially thank my daughter, Kelly, for coming. We dragged her around the world to do a lot of FINA activities. And my wife and partner, Kathy. Thank you very much.
This is one of the true volunteers that we get to honor, wow, that we get to honor periodically, and they're the ones that do the work. The people that lead and all that, you know, it's really nice to be honored, but when we get a chance to honor somebody like this, it's really, really special.
Presenting the medal is Ed Everly of Canada.